Hi everyone, my name is Alexa and I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. Until I figure that out, I'm interviewing professionals in different careers. I created Behind the Career for high schoolers like myself so that they can explore different jobs. Today we're interviewing Josh Fan, a player development coach who trained Jeremy Lin for 10 years and now runs Awaken Training. Let's see what he has to say about it.
Thanks so much, Josh, for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, great. So to start us off, I think when most people think of player development coaches, they think of a coach who works with athletes, but I think there's so much more than that. So could you kind of tell us what that includes?
Most sports have multiple elements to it. There's the technical portion, which is for basketball, it's dribbling, passing, shooting. There's the physical portion, how high you jump, how fast you are, how strong you are. There's the tactical portion, which is kind of understanding the X's and O's in the game, spacing, different schemes, and that kind of stuff. And then there's the psychological element, which is how well you can handle pressure and perform when the lights are on. And so for me, my role as a coach is to help develop all four of those qualities. And I really have to understand my players on a much deeper level than just watching them practice on the court.
Okay, so kind of being involved in every aspect of their life. How would you kind of categorize this into your main responsibilities as a player's coach?
Yeah, I always ask them, like, if you were to write your own scouting report for the other team on how to stop you or what your weaknesses, what would they write? And then I kind of use that as a plan to decide what I'm going to work on with them during the off season or with them long term.
You said you evaluated them to see where to work on. So you work on their weaknesses and then maybe improving their strengths, or how do you know what to focus on and how do you go about that?
That's a great question. So some players will travel from Asia, like who play professionally in China, and they'll come and they'll stay for anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. In terms of strengths and weaknesses, we always want to keep the strengths. So a common mistake, I would say, is people identify a weakness and they put all their effort into making that weakness no longer a weakness. For most basketball players, they're going to have more of a natural disposition towards a certain playing style. So we always say keep the strength, and then bring up the weakness so it's no longer a liability. Reflection, I think, is the most important thing that you can do as a coach is what went well in session, what didn't go well, how can I improve? Did my practice design have the correct effect on the players? If not, what would we change? Was the sequence of drills correct? Was the challenge level good? What would you change for next session? So this is something I also ask my players to do as well after each practice: observation, reflection, and being able to make changes.
So you trained and worked with Jeremy Lin for over 10 years, but then you transitioned into starting your own business.
Yeah, so I worked mainly with Jeremy full-time, only focused all my energy on one person. And so now I obviously have to divide that. When I was with Jeremy, we would look at what he was doing in the weight room, what he was doing on the court. If he's working with a mental performance coach, what his diet looks like, what his sleep looks like, what his recovery looks like, how long he's going to vacation for. We look at pretty much almost every facet of his life. I can't do that for 15 players, right? So it's more of on a general scale and teaching my players basically how to problem solve for themselves, maybe in the weight room, what they're trying to accomplish on the court, and what they need to accomplish off the court. What we do is always going to be slightly different based off of the level of player that comes to me.
Okay, and then taking another step back, did you always know that you wanted to be a player development coach, or were there any turning points?
Growing up, there wasn't really a such thing as called a player development coach or personal trainers. So my current profession didn't really exist. I think I only knew of one person that did it. And so I didn't really view it as a viable career. So after college, I went to law school for 3 years. But during that time, there was always something that I was doing on the side. I just never thought I could make a career out of it or make money from it. But when, Jeremy did make it in the NBA and he asked me to come work for him full time, that was kind of my golden ticket. Sometimes you have to take the opportunity during the lifetime of that opportunity because you never know when that opportunity might come knocking again.
Going back to your responsibilities, what would you say a day or a a week of work looks like for you?
Yeah, so weekly I try to understand, what players I have in town, where they are in their cycle of training, how many days I have left from them, and what kind of progress I'm making with them. But then I think as a coach, I also always need to be learning and growing, listening to podcasts, reading books, journaling, meeting with other coaches. I also have another business that I run where I train people for strength and conditioning, sport performance. Between planning my sessions and learning and training myself, that usually takes up, and spending time with family, that usually takes up most of my day.
Okay, and what would you say your favorite part of the job is?
Teaching people how to problem solve, to be able to spend a lot of time reflecting, think critically, and be able to connect dots and think from different angles. If you're just thinking from the same angle that everyone else is thinking or approaching a problem, then there's nothing that's going to distinguish you. You're not special. Nobody's going to want to listen to your podcast episode, or nobody's going to want to interview you because you're like everybody else. I don't try to copy what other NBA trainers look like or do. I take what I'm interested in. I think about other fields that might have crossover to my own field, which is basketball, and how I can solve problems in unique ways. And so every player that comes into the gym is a different puzzle. And I have to make that player the best player that they can be. Some players require more affirmation and more positive talk, but some players only will respond if you talk a lot of trash. Some players fold when you speak a lot of trash. It's very important to understand how language affects people.
So figuring out how to interact with different types of students and then teach them how to critically think.
So say a player encounters a situation on their team with their coach, where their coach no longer believes in them, or the coach has a problem with them. Some players will play on a team where they are not the star player, and they play alongside a star player who's extremely selfish and will never pass them the ball. You can't just go up to that player and say, "Pass me the ball." Or I work really, really hard all the time on my own and I shoot thousands of reps, but when I go into the game, for some reason it doesn't feel the same and I can't make the same shots. Why? So there are all types of problems that occur, and my goal is to equip my players. They need to be able to have the EQ or the communication skills to be able to resolve conflict. How to resolve conflict with your teammates, how to resolve conflict with your coaches. Those are all part of what makes a player successful on the court or not. It's much more than just putting the ball in the hoop.
I used to play competitive softball and pitch, and I totally agree. It's such a mental game. It's so much more than being able to physically deliver and pitch strikes and hit those spots, and also work with teammates. So yeah, I think it's so interesting that you work to address all of that. My last question is, for high schoolers that want to have a similar career, are there any classes or experiences you recommend for them?
Yeah, so if you want to become anything if you want to do something related to sports or coaching, I think it's really important to understand how humans just acquire skills. So understanding motor learning, how we develop coordination and skills. Most people who become trainers were just previously athletes themselves. So imagine you want to become a softball pitching coach. What are you naturally going to do? You're going to just teach people what worked for you or what your coaches taught you. But we know that there's entire fields of research and science that study how we acquire skill, and there's science behind it. And I think it's very important, if you want to help athletes improve, you understand those theories, put them into practice, try them with different athletes, try them with different groups, and have proof of your work.
Yeah, thanks so much again, Josh, for being on the podcast.
No problem.